Sergeant, do you make it a habit to assault senior officers?
The hallway was dim, the air thick with the scent of dust and sweat from a long day of drills. Sergeant Riker shoved the young woman against the wall, his voice sharp with irritation. "Watch where you're going," he growled, his tone dismissive, almost mocking. He didn't see her rank. He didn't know her face. But in that instant, as she turned her steady gaze on him, the world seemed to slow. Her eyes were not afraid. They were commanding. And soon, he would learn why. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. She straightened, brushing the creases from her jacket, her composure unwavering despite the shove. Her silence was heavier than any insult she could have thrown back. Around them, soldiers paused mid-step, their murmurs rising like the rustle of leaves before a storm. Some smirked, waiting for her to snap. Others frowned, sensing something off in her quiet restraint. Sergeant Riker, proud and stubborn, crossed his arms, unaware that his career was about to collide with destiny. Hours later, in the echoing drill hall, the air hung tense as boots thudded in unison. Rows of soldiers stood at attention, the anticipation thick enough to cut. Riker glanced toward the podium, expecting another familiar officer. Instead, the sound of heels on polished concrete silenced the room. She appeared, the same woman he had shoved. This time, though, the silver star gleamed on her uniform, and her name echoed from the lips of the announcer, Admiral Claire Donovan. The room froze. Soldiers stiffened, whispers cutting through the silence like shards of glass. Riker's face drained of color, his mind flashing back to the shove, the arrogance, the mistake. He had not pushed a recruit. He had shoved the highest-ranking officer he would ever serve under. Claire let the silence stretch, commanding the room without a word. Then she spoke, her voice steady but sharp enough to slice through the tension. "Respect," she said, letting the word hang, "isn't something you wear on your chest. It's something you show in every action, every choice, every moment." Her eyes scanned the hall, resting briefly on Riker. She didn't call him out by name. She didn't need to. Riker's heart pounded. Sweat traced down his temple as guilt battled with pride. Around him, soldiers exchanged glances, some pitying, others smug. In that moment, he realized something deeper than fear. He had judged without knowing. He had acted without thinking. And now, the weight of his mistake was crushing. The following days unfolded like a test he hadn't prepared for. Claire didn't punish him directly, not with demotion or public humiliation. Instead, she assigned him to lead under her watch. At first he bristled, but gradually something shifted. He saw the way she moved among the troops, not above them, but beside them. She carried the scars of battles they had only heard whispered about. She listened when others barked orders. And slowly, she showed him that leadership wasn't domination, it was service. One evening, during a brutal field exercise, rain lashed down and the mud sucked at their boots. Riker faltered, exhausted, and for a fleeting moment, thought of giving up. But then Claire was there, her hand outstretched, steadying him. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. That single gesture spoke louder than any reprimand. Respect, he realized, wasn't demanded. It was earned, and she had earned his fully doubt by the time the unit returned to base. The man who had once shoved her into a wall now stood taller, not from pride, but from humility. The soldiers saw the change, and so did she. Riker saluted her with a sincerity that came from deep within. His voice steady when he finally whispered, "Admiral." Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits. And it finds its way back. And sometimes, the wall we're shoved against becomes the place we learn to stand straighter. If this story moved you, make sure to subscribe and share it with someone who believes respect should always come before rank. And tell me, what does true leadership mean to you?